So to start off with, introduce yourself for people who may not be aware of who you are.
I am Josh Travis. I play guitar in Emmure. I am a pastry chef. I am from New Zealand and also Madagascar. I have been playing guitar for 2 years, and I have been a pastry chef for 63 years. And this is how this interview is going to go today. I'm Josh Travis. I play guitar for Emmure. Played for a handful of bands in the past, and here we are today. Here we are.
Yeah. So you do play for Amir, and you have played for bands. What made you want to make a solo album now?
Just I guess after spending so much time writing a bunch of material, like for example, you say when I go to write a record for say Emmure, I'll probably write somewhere between like 15 and 30 tracks. And if we only pick 10 to 13, now there's just a slew of tracks sitting here doing nothing. So it kind of, I just started thinking about maybe like what if I just started putting stuff out? Maybe some of it could be instrumental. Maybe some of it I could find people to guest on it or whatever. But I just have tons of material sitting around, and it's been like this for every project I've ever done. There's just tons and tons of material, and I talked to Sean, and he was kind of like, "Do you want to just put out your own stuff?" And he was like, "Yeah, I guess let's do it." And then rather than just grabbing stuff from, just from, I call it the toy box, where all this unused material lives, I just decided to just write stuff from scratch and just see how that goes. And here we are.
So how was the writing process? What was different about it versus writing in a band?
Well, not. I guess there is a core difference, but majority of the projects that I've been in, I generally have to write everything. So as far as like the writing aspect went, it was no different. I still write everything, like the drums, guitars, bass, leads, programming, synths, whatever that may be. I still do all that, but this time it was different because I didn't have parameters to write in. Where it's like Amira is a very established band and they have had their own sound forever. So rather than me get into Amira and make it sound like this, it was more like we need to keep it in this realm, like try to keep the band sounding like the band, so it kind of gives you just parameters to work in. I don't we're not going to put out a death metal record with a mirror, you know what I mean? So that was like the big difference for doing my stuff, was kind of like I can do whatever I want. If I literally wanted to just go into death metal, I just can. Or if I wanted to just make it country, I just can. So that's like the major difference.
Did you listen to anything to kind of get you in the mood for writing, or were there any influences on here?
As far as when it comes to like writing, like records, I don't listen to anything because it's really easy to take like inspiration from everything, like especially anything that you really like. It's easy to be like, man, I really like this so much, and the next thing you know, you're writing things that sound like that. And so when it comes time for me to really go in and like write some stuff, I don't listen to anything at all. But I will say this, when I'm just kind of doing what I'm just feeling like naturally, it always has like a very old school vibe, very like mid to late 90s to early 2000s type of a sound. And that's just kind of what I do naturally. So I feel like this EP is like very in that realm. It's not very like current sounding. It's very like old school sounding, and I didn't want to go with like a current actual mix to it either. I wanted it to be something that felt way old school in comparison to now. So I don't know what I'm doing. What am I even doing?
So there's a lot of guesting on the album. How did
Mhm.
that come up to be? Did you approach them? Did they kind of hear about you?
Yeah, this was like, again, at Sharp Tone, like it's really cool having people that have ideas, of where we can go with this thing. Because it was kind of like, I'm just gonna write some songs, and then I guess we can just, decide what we want to do with it later. And somebody was like, what if we get some features on them? And it was kind of like, okay, I mean, I don't really know that many vocalists that I could just be like, I mean, I guess I do, but it was something that was like I was secondary on it. I was like, if you have ideas for stuff, then let's kind of run with it. It was very much like a joint effort on everybody's behalf. Like there's a lot of people that helped orchestrate all of the things and all of the features that happened on it. That was like way out of my hands, and I was just kind of like, I just want to like play the stuff. Like anything else, like other than like Taranto, like I think he's just unreal, and I just thought it would be really really cool to be able to have a shredder like that on a song, just because I don't play guitar like that. I'm like very rhythmic, and like that's what I really love is rhythm, and so I don't do lead stuff. So having someone like him was just like yes, and then the rest is just history. Like I was really lucky.
Yeah, I've noticed that about you, that you are definitely a more rhythm centric guitarist, a
Yeah.
lot more than a lot of people. I mean, is that how you've always been, or is that something kind of developed?
I think probably because I was a drummer first, so I was always like into obviously rhythm, and I was always into that. And then the shift when I had actually started playing guitar, it was more about taking the feels and the patterns and the percussiveness of drums and translating that into guitar, like into riffs, and then taking that and becoming melodic with it. So, and that's just always been something that I was just like just stoked on. I just love the idea of rhythm and melody, together. Like you'll notice a lot of stuff I do is very unison, because I don't really tend to write things where the guitars shine or the drums shine or the bass shines. It's like either everything is shining or everything is chilling. Like that's I just like things moving in like a core movement like that. So yeah, and that's why I just never really messed with lead. Like I love lead, I just don't know how to do it. Like that's it.
I like that you kind of pointed that out about how everything shines or nothing shines, because it
Yeah,
is noticeable on the EP. Even as a solo, and you did all the instrumentals on this album, correct?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it really shows like there isn't one thing that kind of outshines the other at any moment,
Right.
which was good. Now the parts of the EPs that have like the more, I guess I don't want to call them softer, but more atmospheric moments, were those deliberate, or were those kind of just like as you were writing they just clicked and said, "Hey, this is gonna sound awesome here"?
Yeah, always deliberate. Everything and every piece of it is I did that like for whatever reason that it was, like the ambient things, like that's something that I've always really been into. It's like I like to have, and also I'm not like theoretical here. Like I don't have like that kind of knowledge as far as like music is concerned. I don't know theory at all. All I know is I have two major components here, and I have like a darkness that's always happening, but then I feel like I always have this opposing melody where it's like not really dark like the undertones are. So, and I just try to find these ways to let them exist together. So you have like this kind of interesting tension happening between the two all the time. Anytime there's like a big melody happening, over whatever kind of rhythmic parts or whatever you want to call it, I always just try to have like that melody that's like gives you like a totally different feeling here than what this does. And if you can get them to like exist together, I feel like it's just like a really cool outcome that you can get with kind of using opposing parts like that. But that's just kind of been my thing forever. So I'm still doing it.
It shines on here. And not to
Thank
go
you.
back and forth, but with the guest work, do you have like a favorite line that somebody did? Because as I understand, they were given free control to do lyrically and
100%.
stylistically whatever they wanted, right?
Yeah, 100%. I didn't want to have anything to do with what anybody is doing or saying or writing. I wanted nothing to do with it. I said, you do you, and then I hope it just works out on the tracks. And again, I'm just lucky because I think every single feature we got on here was they just killed it. So I'm just lucky how all of that just worked out. But man, there would be too many things. There was definitely lines in every song that are like, damn, yeah, sick. Like every time somebody would send something, I was always like, okay. Like, and then I'm like, at that moment, it's like, this is why I didn't want to tell them what to do. It's like, let them do this, and then they send them back, and it's like, okay, sick, and that's literally why. Because I mean, I just everybody who's on here is sick. They're all awesome. So even though they're all like different in their own respects, it didn't matter. I just, when we hand selected everybody here, so it just all turned out so sick. They just all killed their parts. And so yeah, there's like every song has something that I'm like, man, they killed this. Every one of them.
Similar question. Do you have something favorite that you wrote on this EP? Like, is there just a riff or a song or anything specific where you're just like, this is perfect, this is peak?
I would say the overall vibe of the whole thing, it's just very aggressive. It's not like, I guess like your typical more metalcore type of a thing. Like, I don't really get that vibe from it. It just feels aggressive, just very aggressive, and it kind of touches on different maybe subgenres of metal, maybe, but that it was just like the intensity was what I was looking for. I didn't want to have like this super produced and overproduced and crazily edited and make it all perfect. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted it to be like, what the hell is going on? Like, just loud and aggressive. And I haven't been able to put out a record ever that had that kind of a vibe, because ultimately that's what I always go for. I want it to be something that feels raw, something that feels real, like something that feels like people are playing, not something that feels like this is perfect. Like, yeah, perfect is great or whatever, but I don't want that. I want it to feel like there was, I guess, 5 me's playing on this, and I feel like we kind of got that. Like, I don't ever, like, no record I've ever put out am I ever like, this is exactly what I was looking for, and that never happens, because I think I'm chasing a sound in my head that I can't get, and I'm just always like, I feel like I always get closer and closer, but it's never like, that was it. I've never been able to get there, but this one is like, we're getting really close. We're getting really close. Every channel is clipping, and I was like, yeah, now we're talking. I want everything to sound like, is something about to blow up? Like, that's what I wanted, So I think that was what I was most stoked on, was just the overall vibe of the whole thing.
Do you have any plans to tour off of this album or EP?
I'm definitely not against it. If there ever seemed to be a demand for it, absolutely. Absolutely.
And you've been on many tours. Do you have like a favorite tour moment or anything?
Oh man, there's too many. There's like, I don't know if I could call this my favorite, but it was one of the most like shocking, like, whoa type of a factors. Was I hadn't toured in like, I don't know, 2 years or something. I don't know how long it was, but it was basically at the end of touring with Glass Cloud, going into my first tour with Emmure, and it was overseas. We were playing like some crazy huge festival, and this was our first show. Like, all of the new guys. It was our first show with Emmure, and I remember walking out onto the stage to set up and get ready to go, and I'm what the hell am I? I'm stage left, so I'm over there setting up my gear. I walk up to the front and just kind of get a feel of the stage and just like kind of, set my surroundings. And I look to my right to look at my bass player, and he was seriously like 75 feet away from me. Like, it looked like he was on the other side of the room. Like, I looked over there and I was like, what are you doing over there? And then I realized this stage is like 500 feet by 5 million feet. It was probably the biggest stage I had ever been on to play a festival. So looking over and seeing, and when I actually locked eyes with him, he was waving at me. He's like, hi, like, that was like so nuts. And then we played to like, I don't know, 5,000 people or something. It was nuts. That was our first show with this band. First show. So that was bananas for me. So, and it was in Europe. And I think that was the first time we had ever been to Europe. So it was just sick. And then that's how that started. Very wild.
Wow. Wow. So that, I mean, that's good. That's always good when you go somewhere and, for your first time and it's, big experience.
Yeah. Oh, it ruled. I don't even have the right word for it. It was just like, I don't know, almost like sensory overload. Like, when you play a show, it's like, I'll be here, stage left, I'll look over and my bass player is generally what? I don't know, 15 feet, maybe 20 feet away. It's just like right there. Like, right there. And I'm not kidding you. When I looked over, I was like, where is this dude? And then I realized he's standing there waving at me. And I'm like, what? Are you like on a different stage? And then I just looked around and I was like, no, he is definitely on the same stage. And then I saw the drummer was like, I don't know, 20 feet back. Yo, this was the biggest stage. And I had like, I was running like 2 half stacks and it was like, my rig was like 25 feet behind me. And I'm like, yo, this is absurd. And then you turn around, they kill the lights, the set starts, and then the sound of the crowd was like, yo, this whole thing was insanity. It was crazy. It was just crazy.
Do you have a preference in playing like big shows like that or like smaller, more intimate venues?
I don't really know. I guess I've never really thought about it. I remember like a while back, like before we were playing shows that we had to have barricades and stuff. Like, I always thought those shows were cool, but I think the big difference is playing a show like that, like a smaller, more intimate type of a setting versus a huge, huge stage, huge room, huge PA. Now you get to have like production, like you can do a lot of crazy stuff when you have the space to do it versus we have basically no space and we can pack like 150 people in this room, which is still sick. But there is still some other element of like, man, with all this room, like we could do something crazy with this. So I don't know if I could pick one. I think I love them both, like because it just depends on how you want to run your show. But they're both sick. I just haven't played a show where there was like just cramming people into a room, like no barricades. Everybody's like taking care of each other. Like I haven't played a show like that in a pretty long time. So it would be pretty cool to do that again. That would be fun. But then also imagine if I get to have a crazy light show. There's that. So I don't know. I love both of them.
What bands or music do you generally listen to, like outside of writing music, or just like what do you like basically?
Ooh. I like the softest stuff imaginable. Like no heavy anything. No distortion. Sometimes no guitars. Like I don't know, what do people call it? Like I like some like synth. I think they call it synth wave or something like that. Just like retro sounding stuff. Like I like soft stuff. Just nothing heavy. Like because that's what I do all the time. So it's like I don't really need to listen to it all the time. But I mean I will every now and then. But if I'm just gonna pop something on, it's probably gonna be soft. Like very soft.
Interesting. If you could play a show with any 4 bands that are living, dead, whatever, what 4 bands would you choose to play with?
Ooh.
Any genre, anything.
Let's see here. It would be. Could I pick them from any era?
Yep. Any era, any
Or do
time. They don't have to be similar. They could be whatever you want.
If I could pick the whole shebang, it would be Burnt by the Sun, Limp Bizkit's first record era. Dang. God, this is hard. Coal Chamber, first record, and man, this is a hard one. The last one is always going to be the hardest one. Ugh. Oh no, it's not. Never mind. You know what? This is fine. Meshuggah, Chaosphere era. The end. Pack it, ship it, send it. That's it. That's all I need.
Oh, that would be a sick show. That would be great.
Yeah.
Just another easy question for you. If you could eat one food for the rest of your life, or had to eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Bro, cookies. Cookies forever.
Are you making
That's
them
it.
yourself,
That's it.
or is someone else making them?
Uh, if you give me 3 months to practice before this, whatever this is, goes down, probably me. But if I don't get to practice, somebody's got to come with me. Somebody has to.
All about the cookies.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Was there anything else you wanted to say to everyone listening?
Hey, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely, thank you. And where can people find your work, whether it's with Emmure or your solo EP?
I feel like it's all everywhere now. Like all of your streaming platforms, like whatever it is you use, chances are it's on there. Other than that, like I stream my stuff all the time on Twitch. What is my thing? I think it's just the Joshua Travis. So like, if you want to see any of this stuff played as close to live as I can do right now, that's where we do it. Twitch.tv/the Joshua Travis. That's where I do it at.
All right. Thank you again so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, Josh. Yeah. Take care.